We think it's tragedy now because we don't want anyone to die. That's not the way that harmony works.
Right, everything has to pass.
Sometimes we just want to prove that someone's not a good person because of what they've done to us.
Right.
But like you just said, they're not that person to everyone.
Make an uncomfortable decision.
Welcome in. Today is January 15th. We are on day 15, fall. So today we entered our week 3 of death and rebirth, and the fall is the beginning of that. So it is all about the collapse of old self. We're going to see 4 different stories, pretty heavy stories of death today. And they come from Egyptian, Norse, biblical, and Welsh folklore. So we're going to take a look at those and we will come back to discuss them and think about their meanings in our day-to-day lives. Enjoy!
I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that.
Story 1. Osiris is murdered by Set. Osiris was a good king. He taught the people how to farm, how to honor the gods, how to live in balance with the land and the Nile. Under his rule, Egypt prospered. Order flowed naturally, and life made sense. And that was the problem. His brother Set did not thrive in order. He ruled storms, deserts, chaos, and violence. Where Osiris cultivated, Set disrupted. Where Osiris unified, Set divided. Jealousy grew quietly. Set did not challenge Osiris openly. He planned. At a great banquet, Set unveiled a magnificent chest, perfectly crafted and adorned. He announced a game. Whoever fit inside the chest exactly would claim it as a prize. One by one, guests tried and failed. When Osiris lay inside, the chest sealed shut. Set slammed the lid closed, locked it, and hurled it into the Nile. Osiris drowned. The land mourned, crops failed, order collapsed. The king who embodied life itself was gone. But the story does not end with death. Osiris's wife, Isis, refused to accept the finality of loss. She searched tirelessly, guided by grief and devotion. When she found Osiris's body, Set struck again, dismembering it and scattering the pieces across Egypt. Isis gathered every fragment she could find. Through ritual, magic, and relentless love, she reassembled Osiris. Though he could not return fully to the world of the living, Osiris was reborn as ruler of the underworld, lord of resurrection, judge of souls. From death came renewal. From collapse came transformation. Osiris did not rise to reclaim his throne. He descended to become something greater. In Egyptian belief, his fall mirrors the agricultural cycle itself. Seed must be buried, fields must flood, life must pass through death to return renewed. The fall was not a failure. It was the necessary break Story 2. Baldr is slain by mistletoe. Baldr was loved by all. He was the brightest of the gods, radiant in body and spirit, so pure that nothing harmful could touch him. His essence brought peace. His laughter softened even the harsh halls of Asgard. And yet, Baldr began to dream of death. Night after night, visions came to him of darkness, silence, and his own lifeless body. Troubled, the gods gathered. His mother, Frigg, swore she would not allow fate to claim her son. She traveled through the 9 worlds, demanding oaths from all things. Fire and water promised not to burn or drown him. Stone and metal vowed not to wound him. Beasts, diseases, poisons, and weapons all swore harmlessness. Baldr became invincible. The gods celebrated by turning his immortality into sport. They hurled weapons, stones, and blades at him, laughing as each fell away without harm. Baldr stood smiling at the center, untouched. All but one watched in silence. Loki noticed what Frigg had overlooked, a small plant, mistletoe. Too young, too fragile, too harmless to demand an oath from, Loki fashioned a dart from mistletoe wood and approached Herther, Baldr's blind brother, who stood apart from the games. "You should join," Loki said gently. "I will guide your hand." Herther trusted him. The dart flew true, and Baldr fell. Silence shattered Asgard. The god who could not be harmed lay dead on the ground, undone by the smallest thing. Frigg's grief tore through the worlds. The gods sent messengers to Hel to bargain for Baldr's return. Hel agreed to release him on one condition. Every being must weep for Baldr. And they did, all but one. A giantess named Thok refused. "I will not weep," she said. Baldr remained in the realm of the dead. In Norse belief, Baldr's fall marks the beginning of the end. His death is the first fracture leading toward Ragnarok, the final collapse of the cosmos. His innocence could not prevent fate. His goodness could not stop destruction. Yet Baldr is prophesied to return after Ragnarok, reborn into a renewed world, wiser for having pressed through death. The Norse did not tell this story to comfort. They told it to remind. Even what is most beloved can fall. Even perfection is vulnerable. Collapse is not proof of failure. It is proof that nothing escapes transformation. Story 3. Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel were brothers. They were the first children born after exile, raised in a world already broken by disobedience. Eden was no longer theirs. The ground was hard. Life required labor. Cain worked the soil. Abel tended the flocks. When the time came to offer gifts to God, Abel brought the firstborn of his sheep, the best he had. Cain brought produce from the ground he worked each day. God accepted Abel's offering. Cain's was rejected. No explanation is given, no reasoning spelled out, only the result. Cain burned with anger. God spoke to him directly. "Why are you angry? Sin is crouching at your door. It desires you, but you must master it." Cain heard the warning. He did not obey it. He invited Abel into the field. No weapon is mentioned, no argument recorded, only the act itself. Cain killed his brother. When God asked where Abel was, Cain answered with the first lie spoken by a human being. "Am I my brother's keeper?" Abel's blood cried out from the ground. Cain was cursed, but not killed. He was marked and sent away, condemned to wander, burdened by the knowledge of what he had destroyed. The fall here is not cosmic. It is intimate. This is the collapse of relationship, the fracture of family, the moment when jealousy becomes violence and responsibility is denied. This story does not excuse Cain. It does not soften the act, but it also does not erase him. Cain lives. He builds cities. He carries the weight of his failure forward. The lesson is not that evil appears suddenly. It crouches, it waits, it asks to be mastered. The fall happens when it is not. Story 4. Bronn the Blessed is mortally wounded. Bronn the Blessed was a giant king. His body was vast enough to wade across seas. His presence alone could turn back armies. Yet his greatness was not only in size, but in generosity. Bronn ruled by protection, not domination. When his sister Bronwyn was mistreated across the sea in Ireland, Bronn gathered his forces. He did not seek conquest, he sought restoration. The war that followed was catastrophic. Magic cauldrons revived the dead. Warriors rose again and again, emptied of memory, stripped of voice. Victory became meaningless when death no longer ended suffering. In the chaos, Bronn was wounded by a poisoned spear. The wound could not be healed. Bronn understood what this meant. He did not rage. He did not beg the gods. He accepted the fall of his body as the cost of ending the war. He ordered his companions to cut off his head. But Bronn's head did not die. It continued to speak, to advise, to comfort, to tell stories that kept despair away. His companions carried it home, where it protected Britain for generations, buried facing outward to guard the land from invasion. Bronn's fall is not a punishment. It is a sacrifice that costs everything physical, but preserves what matters most. The king loses his body, but keeps his voice. The hero falls, but does not abandon his people. The old form ends so protection can continue in another way. This is the fall of power as flesh. It teaches that strength does not always survive intact. Sometimes it survives transformed. Welcome back in from those 4 stories. Those were tough stories. You are here with Jane and Mark.
Hey, everybody.
So we're on week 3, death and rebirth, and we started with those 4 pretty difficult stories. A lot of that deep betrayal. The first 3 were all about brotherly destruction.
Right.
Almost. And then the final one was just that difficulty of being a king and a ruler and knowing what to do. But our lesson with this today is what breaks you opens you. So like we see all of these people had a different path. The only person we don't see continue on is Abel. But looking back at these, we look back at the Egyptian one, Osiris. So we know Osiris, he wasn't originally the king per se of the underworld. That was heavily Anubis for a long time. We talked about that the other day. And it wasn't until later on from the Egyptian stuff that we know of, the post-classic or the most recent era of Old Kingdom Egypt, we know that Osiris started to take control then. Before that, early civilization, it was Anubis all the time. But this one was all about establishing death as the passage. So this is the entire thing this is the story that makes rebirth possible for all souls. So it was a necessary sacrifice. But what did you think about the necessary sacrifice being the one that kept everything alive? Like death just hit Egypt after that. So is that part of the reason why Osiris wasn't big until Old Kingdom? Because he wasn't killed until Old Kingdom?
Right.
Where Anubis was already
gone. Well, just like I was telling you before we started recording, I saw that video last night. What time frame was this one?
This was 2600 to 2100 BCE. So it really was early dynastic to Old Kingdom Egypt. But even that, what are we saying that Old Kingdom Egypt was 500 years?
Right, and it's not.
That transition was.
Right. I think that's just possibly where that story popped up out of when we first get to see it, but it definitely was probably way older than that.
Which is interesting because it's a core myth.
Right.
That is a core essential aspect of Egyptian religion.
Mm-hmm.
Yet it just kind of came to be. It makes you really, really think,
Right.
did it just come to be because we did happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we would have no way of proving otherwise after
No.
all this stuff that's happened, like how we know Egypt wasn't this big sandy oasis this whole time.
Right. Yeah. It
Throughout
was some
history.
luscious gardens and just beautiful.
And it kind of makes sense as to why you see those civilizations just there. And you're like, why would the prime civilization be in this
Yeah. It didn't make.
ecosystem?
Right.
It wasn't. It was in this lush paradise. It was one of those oases, but it was massive.
Right.
So if you look at those old pictures, it looks, I think maybe that's even the confusion. Maybe Egypt was Atlantis, you know? Because when you look at those old pictures, you know, and people are trying to describe it in Plato's description of Atlantis, very closely resembles exactly what Egypt is said to have looked like with more information we find. But then again, we are finding these cities in the water.
Right.
That we're seeing these structures and we're like, we don't know how old.
When,
And
I
we
mean, I
came
fell
back.
asleep. Yeah. We dive deeper.
So Osiris had a big cult following in the sense that there was a central belief about death and resurrection with him. So that wasn't something to take lightly. We look at all these stories of, I mean, the mummy, Imhotep. And then we find out, we read stories, and the more you look into it, that wasn't a villain in Egyptian mythology. Imhotep was a key cultural icon. I mean, he was one of the architects, which was a huge deal because we see the architecture over there.
Right.
Not that Imhotep made all the pyramids, you know, all that stuff by himself, but you see he's the one that rises and everything. That heavy resurrection ideal and belief with Egypt. And it's like, oh, that's why they had the mummies for resurrection. No, it's not. That was all about their passage beyond. But it's just cool that we still feel so much of that energy and that magic and the mysticism there, because it was not just a belief, it was something that was lived.
Yeah.
That resurrection, that continuation of life after all of that. And it's who planned that? Because it feels very planned. And it's like, oh, that's how you know it's a story. No, I feel like there was a reason that Set and Osiris were so opposite.
Right. Well, it's that yin
was
and yang,
Set,
right?
yeah, and why was Set sent to go be what he ended up being? I mean, he was sent out in the deserts by their like father, whatever. And they were created to be these yin and yangs. Ultimately, was Set created to end Osiris? Yeah.
Yeah.
He was made to be that way. And again, it leads back to that idea of Set probably knew how important this was.
Right.
You know, that same discussion of when you are meant to be the villain for all eternity,
Yeah.
but your action causes so much more. The action itself was terrible, but it caused everything else that came after.
Right.
Which was a positive or a little bit easier for us to live with as humans, you know? The idea that when you're dead, you're not gone.
Yeah.
And he went beyond just that one action, though. Because the one thing I don't think that he was prepared for was Isis. I think genuinely you don't hear that a lot in the mythologies, where the spouse will search the ends of the earth for you as a deity. You don't see that a whole bunch, but Isis did. And there's that idea of Isis spreading across the world to bring something back together. And Set just, no, there's no way you'll find him in the Nile. She did. So he took him and spread him everywhere. Egypt.
And she still found most.
Enough to have him there for her when she went down there, you know? but pretty wild. I mean, Set could not live in that. That is another thing we mentioned yesterday, was how when you are so used to disorder and chaos, how uncomfortable happiness is.
Right.
Positivity, life, being surrounded by life makes you uncomfortable because you are used to the decay, the disorder. And thinking back to myself, I think that's why it was so easy for me to move out of this town when I did.
Yeah.
Like drop of the hat, moving to Reno several times. And I think it's because I was so culture shocked.
Yeah.
Of like the beginning of when you meet people and you really are able to be anything you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you meet those positive people, and then for the first time, you're like, wow, this is how you can be treated.
Yeah. Right.
You
Like,
know?
oh, people are cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then just having to distinguish between the people that mean it and the people that are just written into your story for something that's not going to be a great time.
Yeah.
And then we move into the second one. So that Norse one, I was very excited for you to hear about this one because you don't hear a lot about Baldr.
Yeah.
And it's funny, in the Loki season 2, they actually mention it. I think it's season 2 or the end of season 1.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's 2 because they're at the World Fair in Chicago. And there's this totem pole of Baldr. And Loki makes this nasty comment about it, just like, I don't even remember what it is. But it's funny because when you really know the mythology, you know Baldr was the favorite. He was the adored son. He was the epitome of greatness, kindness, you know. He just was pure and innocent. And you don't get to see that. But it's funny because Loki's the reason that he's gone. So that little jab at him of like, so tired of him.
That's funny.
And Loki isn't Baldr's brother, right? So Baldr is friggin' Odin's child, and Loki in the original is way more of a brotherhood to Odin than a son in the actual mythology, but takes his blind brother to kill Baldr with a mistletoe. So I was kind of messing with Mark before this and said yes before you ask. It's yes. And I don't know if you had this question, Christian, but Christmas Yuletide things come from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
The tree came from Germany. The mistletoe came from Germany. Why would you choose the mistletoe to symbolize love, peace, and healing if in your mythology it was used to kill your favorite? Because it is, and that was the intention. They chose mistletoe because of Baldr. So the mistletoe we have is because Frigg made mistletoe promise how she got all these other elements to make that oath. Yeah, because the earth can make oaths to you. So she got all of that. But after that, she made the mistletoe make an oath to always symbolize love, peace, and healing. That was its purpose moving forward. And so the Germans took the mistletoe from their mythology, that Norse Germanic mythology, and used it in their Christmas Yuletides for Baldr.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So yeah, it was just something interesting that as I was looking at, I thought, why would you choose that?
Right.
But it's not about Baldr's death. Baldr, it's just, yeah, I love it because then you look at Christmas and we already know all this stuff with Christmas, and we'll get into that in December for those of you that don't. But Baldr's death was not a punishment. He had to die. It was the necessary fracture that allows the world to be remade. And in our story, you hear that his story doesn't end there. He remained in the realm of the dead, but it said that he came back after Ragnarok.
And then what? Like, where's his stories at? Like, if he came back, why aren't we?
So there are more stories of him.
I'm excited because I didn't even know about him. Like, obviously, I'm learning a lot with this.
We hear so much about Thor. I mean, because of Marvel and everything. And maybe that was just Stanley's favorite.
Right.
But Baldr has so much other stuff with him. And then you ask, okay, so this one.
I'm going to put him in our books.
Yeah, no, he is. Yeah, that's why I said. Yeah.
Don't worry, people.
But,
we got you.
But Thoth, you're asking why. So one goddess just said no. No.
Right. Why did she say no?
Because it was Loki in disguise.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious Because as we were talking about this and in between we were talking,
I was kind of wondering.
someone would have known that Loki was in disguise. One person.
Odin. Right.
Which brings in the question of
why didn't he
say anything? Why didn't he beg for Baldr to come back as well?
Mm.
Why was Odin not part of this interpretation?
If you can see everything, you would know. You would not say something
if you
on
can
purpose.
see everything and you know that this fracture has to be made, this goes to beg, was it brothership? Or is Odin that much of the All-Father, that big of a core person, that he was Loki too? And we never look, because everything Loki does, his suffering, his betrayal. I mean, Loki goes and mates with a giant to distract them, you know, and then has a mare with 8 legs. I believe that's the 8-legged mare, but that ends up being Odin's horse that he takes across the realms, right? Loki's other child in charge of the underworld.
Yeah, why is it all
would
Loki's
his
kids?
child
Yeah.
Fenrir, Jormungandr, all of these things that are supposed to end Odin too. Yet Loki, you don't see Odin intentionally end Loki anywhere. You don't see him go out of his way to ensure that Loki doesn't wreak havoc. He almost lets him.
Right.
He allows him to. And then when we get into more of the deities in Norse mythology, you see that Loki sees another deity betray Odin. And it's a female one. And it's not his wife, you know, but it's something, and it was completely done out of, I want something pretty, so I'm willing to sacrifice anything about myself because I'm a deity for this pretty thing. And it's not a very pretty tale, if you know what I'm talking about. You're like, and some of you are like, well, that's not exactly how it happened. I know that's not exactly how it happened, but Loki is so essential that when you're not talking about Odin, it's almost like you see Loki there. Conveniently.
Right.
One or the other are always there. So it's just interesting, and it goes with all of that and how Baldr is going to come back. But yeah, so that giantess that was like, no, I'm not going to weep. Everything else did. The living and the dead in all 9 realms wept for Baldr, except that one giantess. So it's like, yeah, all that happened, but again, was there a discussion of that's not Baldr's end?
Yeah.
But it will be if we bring him back.
Right. Like he has
He
to
will
stay.
not survive Ragnarok, but now he doesn't have to face it.
Right.
At all. And he's the best of us. So allow him to stay there. And then I'm guessing that he might come back when Hel leaves to go into Ragnarok, because then he's in the realm of the dead and he can go into war. So yeah, it's kind of like that thing of you will rise again, but it'll be something completely new. You will rise again, but you will start over for us, all of us. And you won't know that you are until the time comes. And again, only one person knows.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Right. And that's what we know now. You know, that's what we can assume now. Anyone that's studied a lot of these mythologies, you know that oftentimes you see one person as the All-Father, the great and powerful one, and then you see their spouse and you go, well, yeah, they're going to be with an equal, but you don't realize that in some of these mythologies, how there is that fear of their spouse. Like big example, Zeus and Hera. Yeah, Hera does all this stuff and Zeus really doesn't care. He continues to do his shenanigans. But when Hera crosses the line, and you see it in the Iliad, Hera and Athena go to do something Zeus said not to. And he threatens to end her. Like, not just send her down. I will wipe you from existence. Sit down and do what you're told. And that's what he does to both of them. And they're so not used to it because they are the favorites. They get everything. But you do see that sometimes the All-Father will do that. But then other times you see that they back down. And Odin's a big one. I mean, Odin is all of these All-Fathers put together. And you can argue that they all are. You know, But he's one of the only ones that in the mythology will sit and acknowledge what his spouse says.
Yeah.
And then that's why
I think
I
there's
love,
more power in that than it.
yeah, and I love that we get to see the Osiris and Isis one,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously that happened there. I mean, how powerful of a being would you have to be to track down your husband and then track down all of these body parts and then put him back together and then say, sit here on this throne until I come home to you, knowing that you still have to do it, but then there is that equal respect of, I may not be able to get it, but she can, or vice versa.
Right.
So I just really like that. And so when you see, Baldr's mother was going to go ask, and it's like, okay, what is she going to do? Odin could do it all. Oh, there was plenty that she can do. And I would almost think that while she's going and asking, she probably made a failsafe, which leads us to where Baldr can come back.
Right.
Because you got everything to make oaths for you. You got things to weep.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you didn't go to Odin and say, make that giantess weep. Go on. So it's just exciting that everything did happen for a reason. And while it did look like tragedy, and we think it's tragedy now because we don't want anyone to die, that's not the way that harmony works.
Right. Everything has to pass.
Right. And some things require significant shifts because we become so complacent. I mean, we were throwing spears at Baldr. We're laughing at the fact that he can't die. And now you're upset that someone came and said, you missed something. Your arrogance missed something. And yes, Loki suffers severely. I believe both of his kids are killed and he's hung with their organs on a tree. Yeah. So Loki does suffer severely for it, but he's not killed. He still has to play a part. He's not killed knowing that he's going to play a certain part in Ragnarok. So I'm excited when we get more into that too. Why? Why did we allow him to be here? The biblical one, moving into the third one, I think it's a little bit harder to read that one because most of us have been grown to believe that that is a fact. All these others, we can say they didn't happen, that we can't prove it. But in Christian belief, this did happen.
Right.
Someone did slaughter their brother. And Cain is another person that goes down as the first murderer. The first person hit by so much jealousy that he just killed his brother. And again, there's another story where you don't hear a lot about it.
Right.
Other than the act, like it just said.
Yeah, like what happened, why?
So
like besides the
many.
fact that he's like, no, I'm going to take your stuff, but not your stuff because your stuff is whatever. They don't even say why he didn't want to take it. And he's like, okay, well, now I'm going to kill you.
And then there's some other adaptations where Cain is trying to trick God and he brings him like some not as good of an animal, but his brother brings this amazing one. And so you see these things, but it's another key biblical story that we use in everything.
Yeah.
In everything.
Right.
Yet we do not know what happened.
Yeah. Like
it is another common human misconception. And I'm not saying Cain didn't kill his brother, or are you trying to justify murder? No, but God knows what happened in that field. God knows Cain's purpose, and God knew Abel's purpose. And there isn't stuff in there that says Abel was this innocent, perfect, total victim. It doesn't. It just says God chose Abel. Cain was jealous. Cain took Abel out of the equation.
But then Cain went on to do all these amazing things. Why would God allow that? Because
what's worse, and I love the adaptation of this in the show Lucifer. I love what they did with Cain. Because you were marked and sent away, but now the thing you did to your brother, you killed him. Now your brother is home with me, God.
Yeah.
With me.
Yeah.
What is worse than having to walk eternity as a wanderer?
Right.
The way that they did that in Lucifer was beautiful.
See, I don't know if I've seen that part.
Yeah, he's marked and he's there. He was left to wander aimlessly as the first murderer. You will
Really?
never find peace.
Wow.
So that terrible act you did to someone, trying to end them, you helped them reach peace sooner,
Mm-hmm.
and you will never get it.
That'd be gnarly.
That I think is another one of those people like that guy we saw that Y-Files episode on that's been around and he'll disappear and then come back for a new lifetime.
Right.
Is that not Cain?
Right. Could be.
You know?
Yeah.
And then that would be terrifying because that'd be both terrifying and liberating because yeah, in today's day and age, would you be able to be under the radar? Yeah, there are places in the world
1,000,000% you could hide out
that
easily.
you could hide under the radar and not be off the grid, but be so on the grid. Like these myths. Everyone talks about them so much that they can't be real. Isn't that the best way to ensure? You
Yeah.
know?
Right.
So we have Baldr out there. We have Cain out there. Again, brothers were slain for other purposes. I mean, is that not the same story? Except a little bit of jealousy,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
The concept behind it is all the same.
Mhm. And it's preserved. It's only preserved in Genesis.
Mm.
And oral storytelling by the Israelites. And it addresses your moral responsibility, jealousy, and violence, but it explains the spread of sin beyond the first transgression. This is used to prove that eating that fig created something, a whole domino effect. So you went from eating from the tree of knowledge to now your child killed your second-born, right? Because Cain was older, wasn't he?
Cain was the older son of Adam and Eve and the firstborn, while his younger brother was Abel, making Cain the elder. The biblical story from Genesis describes Cain as a farmer and Abel as a shepherd. Cain killing Abel out of jealousy after God favored Abel's offering of his own.
So it's meant to show God gave that willpower, that choice. He didn't give a reason. So he said, I choose this one. It's not about the ritual preferences. It's about choice, warning, and what happens when resentment is allowed to rule within you. What did Adam do? What did Adam or Eve do?
Well,
so they didn't even go talk to their parents. Like, were they so consumed in whatever they gained from eating that fruit that they, like, in all actuality, I don't think I see anything else about Adam and Eve doing anything
yeah.
after they took that bite and were exiled.
Yeah.
They had kids, but what did they do with those kids?
You don't know.
You know, and it doesn't say one was the favorite of the parents either. It doesn't say like, oh, Cain was taught by his father being the older, but Abel was with the mom. Like, doesn't say anything about that either. So their jealousy just came from the fact that God didn't choose Cain.
Right.
But
well, I mean, that's an older sibling thing too. They're always like, it's about me. I'm the oldest. Shut up.
That's why the second-born's always the one that gets
Second-born's always the coolest.
He's got a little bit of the middle sibling thing going on. Most of you will understand. Middle siblings, they're just there. But some of them are cuter than others. It's just another story where there's so many other factors you don't get to see. Because, yeah, we don't know what it was like back then. But, gosh, if you weren't chosen by any of them, though, wouldn't you? Like, I'm not justifying the murder at all. But it crossed your mind.
Yeah. Like, why
like
not me?
Adam, Eve, and God, and the angels. Abel's just this perfect thing.
Yeah.
That's why I think that there's so much of those stories that were taken out.
Yeah.
Because it just makes Cain the villain and Abel this victim. And it could be very different. There could have been a fight out there. Abel could have stood his ground for a long time before.
Yeah, we have no clue. And then nothing
even says the weapon or how it happened. Could have been.
I think there's spoofs on it and stuff that you've seen. Like it was I think Jack Black does a movie where he kills his brother. It's a Cain and Abel thing.
Yeah. Is that like year one or something?
Yeah, I think it's year one. It's fun how you see all these things and they bring it up, but it's like truly like we don't know, obviously.
And there
with all this
are
stuff.
people that you could talk to and ask, what do you think Cain was feeling, that have a better representation of that? And I'm specifically saying there are people that have murdered their brothers out of jealousy.
Yeah.
So there are accounts out there. And is that, wow, they are suffering from the second oldest form of sin. Murdering your brother is the second oldest sin. And that's, where did they find spouses?
Who? Cain and Abel?
Yeah. Where did Cain get his wife?
So that's what's really fun about all this stuff. Like Adam and Eve weren't the first people. Like,
no, I have that whole thing with Lilith too.
there was people before Adam and Eve, and then so I'm not exactly sure on all
we
this
need
stuff.
to jump into this into a different episode.
We probably do. We'll jump into that
We'll
more.
open that, 'cause we have a lot of biblical stuff we want to look at in the terms of this actually happened here.
Yeah.
And this is something that we really need to dissect here.
Right.
Because if I can prove one piece of mythology, really, if you can prove
just
one piece, it goes to put everything else into question. If you don't think that's true, look at what they're doing with Troy.
Yep.
Digging up artifacts that could have been from the city of Troy opens a huge plethora of stuff. Because even when you look at those deities, Zeus is nothing compared to Odin. I would even argue that Hades and Poseidon are,
more than Zeus.
Yep, Zeus is so similar to Thor, though.
Really?
He is. He's,
so like it would make
power.
sense that like Thor went over and was like, okay, I'm going to be the main.
Well, even if it's not just that, but why wouldn't you, as an all-powerful being, best fit that culture? Why wouldn't I look like this big warrior Viking god here, and then when I'm down here, all I have to do is change a few things? Because it's not like they're wearing a whole outfit.
Right.
So I just have to change what I'm wearing below, And they are these all-powerful things, but in the sense that they're all-powerful because someone above them made them this.
Yes.
So they're not all-powerful.
No.
They're all-powerful here on this
That's
point.
the way we view them. We view it as all-powerful, We're like,
but
wow.
something put them here.
Yeah. How'd you get here? Oh, because something's better than you or stronger than you or...
And the best way to hide history, hide culture is to destroy it.
Yeah.
So all of those monuments that were destroyed, but now looking up and seeing, wait, there could be an Atlantis right where Plato said it was.
Right.
Who had never seen it, just heard about it though.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be right where we said it was this whole time. Troy could have been this city that's there that whole time, but we didn't think it was true because it had a different name.
Yeah.
And then you go to look at how, if Troy wasn't real, then how did Rome come to be if it was Trojan people that made it, Mythology just goes kind of thing. But we'll have to jump into some of those larger stories.
Yeah, for sure.
In a different thing. And then we go to the Welsh one and Bronn the Blessed. He's mortally wounded with that poison, and it's that exact amputation. It's the idea of amputation, to cut off a poisoned piece of you so that the rest can remain. I had never heard about this one. Bronn can be translated as crow or raven. So when he was put in the tower, and then ravens were there too. So it was said that, and I believe that they have statues of ravens on that tower now. If not, I don't know as much about it. But those ravens were meant to symbolize that he was still watching over, protecting England. And there are so many things that, for instance, could be proven. But that would require secrets to come out.
Yeah. He's a giant, right? And I watched an episode on I believe it was Y-Files or something. And he's talking about the Smithsonian and how all these things throughout the Americas where all these giants were found. And then all this stuff is sent. It's all documented. But then when people go to say, hey, we want to see this, they're like, yeah, no, you can't.
It's down
And
getting
then-
worked on. It's in there.
So there was a Native American treaty thing where they were supposed to get all their bones, and it was for all their burial stuff. They were
The
supposed to
Native
get it back.
American stuff, right?
But they're trying to get their stuff back, but it's written in there that the Smithsonian is exempt from giving anything back from anybody.
they
so they
rewrote
can
the
hide
stuff.
everything.
Well, and what my thing is, like, it's so cool because you can travel the world. Like, a lot of people can't because they choose not to, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Choices are made.
Yes.
That's that whole bringing that power back to yourself.
Exactly.
It's trying to do what you would do. Anyways, if you think about it, why wouldn't you have the cultures who they belong to? Like up when we went and looked at Mount Rushmore with my family, there was a giant, huge Native American section in there, ran by people of that culture. Like you could talk to people of that culture.
Mm-hmm.
And there were other places down the road, closer to their reservation, I believe, that they had more. Why isn't it like that? Why doesn't Egypt have all of Egyptian artifacts? Unless it was found at that place. Why is it there? For example, like the Grand Canyon, if we find a bunch of Egyptian stuff there, yeah, leave it there. But
Because that's where it is.
That's a whole different culture, though.
It's not the actual
That would be
Egyptians.
whole different people.
Yeah.
And to leave it, and can we blame cultures for not knowing their own history if it's been stripped from them?
Right.
And I'm specifically talking about the one that we live with here.
Yeah.
I've gone there several times. I have lots of friends over there, have some deep respect for people there. And several of them, when I asked about their culture, the Shoshone here, the language, there weren't people that knew it. I didn't know how to say welcome. In Shoshone, they couldn't tell me who knew how to say that. There's so much, and it's like, okay, there are certain things, but to even tell them, that is really cool. I didn't know that about your culture. Like, you guys did that. Why aren't you sharing that more?
Yeah.
And then it goes, well, if we've been relocated from where we were, if we've been stripped of our identity, and that's like generational trauma. And that's why I wanted to watch that other show with you where you watch the girl go into it, that 1923 or whatever. It's like the Yellowstone stuff again. But they show these Native women and girls getting put into that. I don't know what kind of religious church it was to break them out of that, though. And the things that just would happen to them. And like we've talked about, every single culture did that. I mean, we see Braun went to go over because his sister was being disrespected. Not to go beat some butt per se, maybe that was it. But he was about to go resolve things. Things were going to go back to just, this is how we treat people. But his entire story moving forward was to show that leadership is meant to be held by people who will take wounds that others can't. Leadership is, if you are a leader and you are only seen as this idol, this positive thing, you're not doing it correctly. Because great leaders take the bullets. Great leaders are wounded for the sake of what they are leading.
Mm-hmm.
Great leaders know when to step down when they aren't what the people need or they can't do it. And that's something to admire. And I think that's what turns you from a great leader or from being a potential leader to a great leader.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to be on top to lead. But we don't see a whole bunch of people do that anymore. We see people get power and are placed in power because of their weaknesses.
Yeah.
Because you are weak in this aspect, I know I can control you in this position.
Exactly.
And that is...
most leaders today aren't leaders because they're just the weak people that they can be puppeteered, honestly.
And then they come in and they're like, well, I'm going to do all this change. But then they fall back into that disciplinary action that is not legal for a lot of reasons. But they do stuff that is, I want to make change, but I'm willing to be exactly like all the bad people so that my name is on top. And it's like, your name may be on top, but you continuously shifting blame on everyone else. Like you're nothing but a shield and no one takes you seriously because it would be so easy to take you down that I don't even need to acknowledge that you're there because you're not in my mind. There's no one there in my mind. And we see that. And I I'm seeing that from both of our our work
Right.
lives. I've seen both of us have to work for people that are like that. But then you get that flip side of that person that is so strong. And they go, yeah, I'm going to be here for this year. I'm going to be here limited time. But they're so strong that you're like, gosh, you gave me hope in what a leader really is. Because a leader should, in essence, make you also feel like you're safe.
Right.
You know, because they're willing to take those battle wounds for you. Because when the time comes, you'll be the one taking them.
Right.
And there are just some leaders that you see, like Braun, he was willing to do that, but he's still watching us. And we see this across cultures, across mythology. When you see signs that there is something protecting this land and this people take those seriously. They don't overreach, and when they do, there are severe consequences. And this is one of those ones where I could imagine that tower being there and those birds being there and being like, no. And there is that big bridge in Ireland or going towards Ireland, isn't it? That they believe is the Giant's Bridge that they would walk across. I think Braun is one of the giants that they talk about with that.
Really?
I'll have to look more into that.
Yeah.
And of course, these cultures, this is all the research you can do while not being there.
Yeah.
The whole point about the podcast is to start opening up to these things so that when we go there,
Yeah.
we can say, this is what I have learned instead of just tell me everything you know. Like, this is what I've learned about this stuff.
Yeah.
Correct me. You know, and you go though, because I've been to London. You know, I've been to some of these places.
I'm excited to go. I can't wait to go.
Yeah, someone I went to London with in Paris and Rome, they were excited for Paris. I was excited for Rome. They went to Scotland and Ireland and said 100% that's where they'd go again.
Yeah.
Like, there are things in Paris and Rome, but it's a whole different feeling. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to go there because I just saw pictures and some of those stories, some of those fairy tales, some of that atmosphere never ended in some places.
Yeah.
That magic is still there. You know, America, you see a lot of newer buildings, you know, because the old stuff was destroyed.
Yeah.
And then there was a long time where people didn't need to put these ugly pieces on this land. You know, they could have things that they could move, or it wasn't this big. And I'm specifically talking about like how downtown there are 20 abandoned buildings
Here?
that are just waiting to cave in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next to establishments that are so popular, yet you're 100 feet away from asbestos and like pneumonia and probably several different viruses.
Yeah.
And it's like we just left it there.
Yeah.
And now the land.
It's like we just don't care about what we've done, honestly. Like it's easier to just not care and forget about it and close your eyes and put the blinders on and only look what's going to affect me, or assume to only look at what's going to affect me.
Because when you go to these places, some of these old places are still taken care of.
See, and that's so beautiful. I love that. Like, why not?
Right. And then you go to Paris and you leave the train station and you see so much spray paint. And spray paint in a little old town in Nevada is a lot different than spray paint in Paris.
Yeah.
There were places that we were going through that I was like, how did they even get there? But it was art. It wasn't just tagging everywhere. Like, there were buildings and there was a lot of trash when we went. You know, there wasn't as clean as you might hope, but it was just like, these people were so creative though. And they're like, well, that's not a building that's in use anymore, so we allow them to do it there. Yeah, that's not a hard thought to process.
Yeah. We're not using it. Sure, go ahead.
So why don't we do that?
Yeah.
Why don't we allow people to create this art? And they're like, oh, well, it's not this kind of art, so it's not the art we want. And I'm thinking about that here.
Yeah.
We have so many artists that are good with different types of palettes, different type of techniques, but we only are hiring the people that look like we want them to look, right? We're not hiring kids that might look like they're this or this. We're hiring people that have already done the social game here.
Yeah.
And proven that they'll do what they're told, that aren't even from here.
Yeah.
And they're painting murals to show our culture from here. And it's like, we do that everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, well, no, they have a good record. I don't care if you have a good record. If I'm looking for art and
Art's
I'm
different.
looking for representation, I don't care that you know how to sit down and say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Because I know some of the people that do this. I don't think they're good people.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people come up to me and say, no, I really like that person. I don't correct them. Because what
you can
was done
like
to
them.
me was deep betrayal,
Yeah.
friendship,
Yeah.
close. And so I'm like, no, I know what kind of person that they are.
Well, that's because they and you are not meant to coexist.
No.
So they had to do something like that to get you away, but it doesn't mean that they do it to every single person.
Right. And that's why I didn't bother saying it, because another piece of when it could have been said, sometimes we just want to prove that someone's not a good person because of what they've done to us.
Right.
But like you just said, they're not that person to everyone. That could be someone that's extremely loyal to someone else. But sometimes you have a leader that you think is great, and sometimes people will be like, no, I know that person. They're not great. They actually showcase the biggest things that we don't like as a human society. But they did that to me. So that's another aspect. We cannot be upset when someone won't follow someone else.
Right.
I refuse to follow certain people, and other people will come up to me and be like, that's weird. They're great for me. They did all this. We knew them differently. And there's a danger of knowing someone so personally.
Yeah.
Is that good or bad? You're going to take it. But I've known people that have done bad things like that too, that I don't have this towards.
Yeah.
Because there were other things about them that, like, they learned from it, they acknowledged it, but they were the leaders that would take wounds too. I've seen people not defend themselves for stuff they did not do. They didn't do it. And yet they aren't out there defending themselves.
Because they're defending themselves through actions and not words. And that I appreciate way more than anything. Don't tell me what you did and or didn't do. Show me.
Right.
Show me what you're all about. That's what I respect more than anything. Because so many people I know are really good at using words
Pretty
that
words
mean
and
nothing.
pretty promises.
They mean nothing.
We have to adapt ourselves. We have to know that there are certain things that society continues to do. There are certain patterns. You can tell the patterns by the people. The more that you socially acknowledge people and things around you, the more you can connect the patterns. And you and I have talked about this and how I'm like, oh, nope, this is going to happen. And you're like, well, you're projecting it. And there are times where I project it.
Yeah.
But there are other times where we've sat there and I'm like, watch this pattern. Look at this pattern I've laid out about this person.
Right.
That I've known them for however long. These are their next 5 steps. They haven't done any of them, but I can guarantee based on this pattern, these are their next 5 steps. And lo and behold, it's happened.
Right.
And so there is also that thing of, you see the world and you can connect the patterns, but that doesn't mean that everyone is going to continue to be that person. Because there are people left and right, like you've said, that are waking up.
Yeah.
They're waking up to these realities. And I was that person. I was not a great person. And there were times when I was pushed and challenged that I even looked at them and said, congrats. Now I am going to be the worst version, the most destructive person I can be towards you. And that was, of course, when I was younger, more whatever.
Right.
And more impulsive. But now, and that's what baffles me, is now when I forgive and try to forget and things are pushed on me. Like, why are you pushing me to be a fighter?
Right.
Because when you leave, you get to be anything. You could have been that super shy, naive, quiet person in school, but when you leave, you don't have to be. I can be loud and obnoxious. I don't have to share my story with anyone. I don't ever have to go back. And then we see people and they come back and they're so like all this. And I wish you would have been like this in high school. I've always been like this.
Yeah, this is who I really am. You just chose not to see it.
Or I was choosing
too
not
scared.
to allow you.
Yeah, and that could be a piece too. Is like you didn't deserve it at that time, or it just wasn't the right
Part of
time
me-
for it, or I just didn't grow into it, or maybe you just didn't even know that was you.
And part of me thinks it's like they almost got me.
Mhm.
Socially, they almost got me to be a pawn. But something within me my whole life was the more I was told to do something, the more I wanted to do the opposite. The more I was picked, pushed down, the angrier I got, the more liberated I felt inside of. I mean, those were all the times I questioned, could I live this life alone? Could I make it by myself? No, so I got 2 dogs. Could I make it with them? I truly believe that. I truly do. And then now I meet you and I'm like feelings for you and it's gross because I kind of have a crush on you. And I'm just like, I don't know, what you were saying, there is a time that you will stand and they will present it. And if they don't, they will be so nonchalant about it that you'll say, you know what, I'm glad that we have this time together because there's something I want to bring up to you. And I like doing that. I like not necessarily confrontation. It doesn't always have to be like you're fighting. But I am someone that I'll go out of my way to find you. And I'm not saying I show up at someone's house like trash and say, get outside and find me. Get outside.
You're standing out with the speaker. Come on.
Like this.
Oh, I was thinking of like an epic romantic comedy where you're holding a speaker above your
But
head.
students that knew where I lived in McGill did that. They're playing Eminem on their phones as they're walking by my house. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. I'm like, who's playing the soundtrack to my life right now? And they're out there with their phones. Like,
it's like some 80s, the like heartbreak movie, but they're just like out there just doing the sprinkler. I don't know.
Yeah, they're just playing Eminem, rapping it. But no, those people will give you an opportunity. And it is beautiful because when you are not afraid of confrontation, you don't have to love it. You don't have to go in thinking I'm going to have a fight. But I'm confident enough in myself as a human being that anything that's said in there, I'm going to walk away with something. But I'm tired of this. You have to be so unbelievably tired of where you're at that to stand face to face and hold a conversation with someone where you are addressing things that are bothering both of you and you stand firm and not even walking away with I'm right or you're wrong. This is done. This thing that's bothering us is done, or you and I can no longer be on the same path. You and I need to no longer be able to have this explosion because you're not changing and I'm not changing.
Right.
Or if we have to continue, I'm voicing now in front of people, in front of you, that I will be done if you continue. And that in itself holds power because sometimes you walk away and they're like, well, I don't think about coming in because whenever I show up or whatever, I do this and you don't leave yet. You know, I had no idea. Where other times it's like, well, I just didn't think you cared. You didn't think I cared when you saw my face every day?
Right.
Because then you get to
when I was right at the door with everything ready to walk out, you took an hour from my life that I can't get back. And that's the part that upsets me. You're taking my life away.
And people only get upset if something dramatic happens.
It has nothing to do with money or nothing else. You're taking my life.
But if something happened, then they would acknowledge.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't come to that.
No, it shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't come to that. And so we look at all 4 of these stories, and that's why I truly believe there's more to the Cain and Abel story.
Yeah.
100%. I'm not at all saying that Cain is in the right. But I'm saying that there's more to that story.
He didn't just kill his brother just
over a sheep.
The first time.
No. There's so much more. Baldr, I mean, how I told you, oh yeah, we get to talk about the favorite son today. And who would think it's Baldr unless you've studied it?
Yeah, I know.
Most people don't even know that name.
I didn't.
Don't even know who that is. And then just all of the different stories that we have come together to show this. But thinking about all of this and how we are, I would rather confront the problem. Not saying I don't like texting or calling back. If I have a problem, I want to see your face so I can see your body language. Because you need to see mine. Because this is how I'm feeling, I'm a very big body language person. So it needs to be expressed. It needs to be felt. I need to feel your energy because I need both of us to walk away knowing this conversation doesn't need to happen again. And we need to take time out of actually being face to face now.
Yeah.
Like where I can just text you the worst things or the best things about you. I don't even know what color your hair is this month. Like that's what's crazy sometimes. You see someone for so long, they're like, oh my gosh, you look so different. Like you don't even know them. And they're just sitting here like, wow, why? Clearly we aren't. Yeah.
Right.
But anyways, this goes to lead to the question I gave you earlier to think about what moment destroyed who you used to be. Because there was that person that would have never been bothered by the being late. There was that person that wouldn't have thought, should I be an asshole or should I continue being the person I am? There used to never be that version that even considered that. You want to show up late? I'm going to show up late too. You know? Oh, you want to destroy my name? All right. There was a part of me in the past that would have been like, all right, I'm going to destroy lives today. And so something broke both of us that made us go, this isn't it. This reality that I've been a part of isn't it anymore.
So I meant to bring it up earlier, and this I think fits in really well because it's not. Here's the thing. The recent feeling that I'm having of getting this relief isn't just this person. It's not this one person because this exact situation has been happening over the last 4 to 5 years. Every single person that has been
So
my
it's a
relief.
culture that's been created.
It's these few people have decided, oh, they'll show up at 4:30, but they won't go show up to relieve me because somebody had to tell them something. Like last year when I was on night shift, the year before, that person would show up and they'd be like, oh man, this person wanted to talk, or they grabbed me and I had to do that. Bro, you've been here for 30 minutes and I just saw you right now. And I was supposed to be gone 20 minutes ago. No, this is just you being who you are. But then I'm like, wait a second. So all these people are doing the same exact thing. To me, it's just that energy trying to push me away from it because I don't like it. So what's that truly doing? It's trying to make me do something. And I've just been the fool that I haven't done anything for 4 to 5 years. I've been getting the same thing happen to me, the same thing I don't like, but yet I chose to continue to live in the
world
suck.
said you're agreeing to it.
It's like, no, you like this. No, I don't. No, but you're still staying there.
You
You're dealing with it. So now it's time to talk about it. Now it's time to say, I don't like it. And let's see what the universe does with it. Let's see what God says. Okay, now you've expressed you don't like it. Now we'll make that change. Now, was that as simple as it had to be? I don't know. We'll find out. But I'm there. And I think that's the biggest part is being like, okay, I acknowledged it. And I think we've had questions like that, acknowledging whatever it is that you need to acknowledge. And I think that's where I'm at now.
I used to keep my door locked. If it wasn't time for students to come in, and my students knew that they could email my work email, hey, I need help, they would come. It sucks because the final last little bit were the times that I did after school tutoring. Was the only one that did it until promotion.
Wow.
Every single Thursday for a full hour. And I started that the year before, but mornings I would just start locking my door.
Yeah.
The teachers that were friends with me, and I mean, I didn't want the negativity.
Yeah.
My mental space was so on edge that I couldn't even handle someone coming in that was the wrong energy.
Yeah.
I had to prepare. They would text me when they were on my way to their class or on their way to my classroom. They would say, hey, it's me. I'm coming to your door.
The people that you wanted.
The people that would be accepted. So the people I was close to, they knew I was locking my door to protect myself, my mental state. And they knew it. Most of them wouldn't come talk to me. There were a few that really liked to check in on me that I really appreciated. I mean, they're gone now, places. But still, first call I got when I made that post was that same teacher. And I'm just like, cool, they knew. And it would be, hey, when they had to bring me bad news, it was an apology first. Where are you at today? Because it wasn't bad news that that necessarily involved them, but it involved someone we both cared about.
Yeah.
Hey, we got to worry about this person. We got to worry about this kid. Those I would let in, but yeah, it does come to that point where you just tell the universe, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to. I think I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, I
Whatever
think
this lesson needs to be. But then I think you truly got to dig into it. Was this a lesson that I needed to learn to be able to stand up for myself and show what I really wanted? Or what was the lesson? And that's the biggest thing I want people to understand when we're talking about stuff like this. It's not the exact situation that you're in, and doesn't have to relate and be the exact situation that we're in or that we're describing. But if you think about instances in your life that somebody has forced you to feel a certain way for a certain amount of time and you've allowed it to happen, it's that break of, okay, I'm done with that.
And
Doesn't matter what it is.
It took a break before that.
Yeah, somewhere
something
it was.
insignificant happens. And that's the best part is I think about what moment destroyed who I used to be. It was a quiet moment. I remember it exactly. And it just felt like the veil got lifted. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a big folklore person. I just woke up one day. Nothing significant changed. Nothing major happened the night before. But I was just sitting there and it was just like this thing just lifted and I could not see the world the same anymore. It was unbearable, the things that I was living with. It was a day and night. And the person will probably tell you it came out of nowhere. Yeah, they did things that irritated me that I was over. But when my eyes opened, what was it? I was like, 26, I think. And I told my family, I told everyone, like, because it was so much that I was throwing up. Like, my life was unbearable. I was a teacher in a new town. Like, it was fine. It was unbearable because it wasn't where I needed to be. It was all a lie. It was all a facade. This world wasn't what I thought it was. And for 26 years being asleep and going through day to day to where they blur into one. I was asleep for not 26 years because I would say my last go excitement wise was like when I was 8. So between 8 and 26, couldn't go back. I couldn't stomach the people that I had allowed to infest my life. I turned and looked and just like, I am one of the ones that you guys would follow, but I could make you guys do, like, it was just different leagues. Some of my friends were smarter. I was smarter than a lot of my friends at that time. The people I was hanging out with, my acquaintances, because we were just drinking buddies.
Yeah.
We were let's not care buddies. And to know that you could lead someone like a sheep and they just wouldn't know right from wrong. There's no valor in that because they're not strong enough to stand with me as my army if I need them.
Exactly.
I'm not willing to sacrifice my stuff because I see their habits. I see where we're going to break. And so mine was really quiet and it made things with my family difficult because there were things that my family had done that I had allowed for that long. It validated the way I felt about myself when I was asleep. When I was sleepwalking through life. And then when that was gone, it shook everyone around me. I mean, there were people that said I physically didn't look the same, carried myself differently. I spoke differently. And my temper was always there, but now it was worse because it was me holding my ground without being angry. But I can bring that tone up to where this is where you've taught me, you'll listen to me.
Right.
So I'll speak in that tone. But now I'm speaking with more wisdom. And that's intimidating to people because some people that are older than you and you have more wisdom than them, and they will never admit that. And they will try to break you to prove that they're smarter.
Somebody just said something along those lines to me about being older and in charge or something. And I looked at him and I laughed. Oh my goodness. I wish I could remember. This is exactly what you're talking about. Because I was like, just because someone's older doesn't mean they're wiser. Just because someone's in more of a leadership doesn't make them more of a leader. And I was talking to this person. I was like, it doesn't matter if you believe that you're lesser or greater or whatever. but it's how you react in situations. Or it is if you believe, if you're lesser or greater. If you allow somebody to make
But
you
your
feel,
actions on that belief.
yes, it's act on it, show me. And
there are people older than us that have never left this town.
right,
They've gotten their profession through whatever it may be, and they're like, well, I'm wise. You are wise here. But
leave
anyone
and
that leaves
see.
for a year has more wisdom than you have.
Man, when I left and like, so I moved to Vegas first and then I moved back to Minnesota. Like, the biggest thing when I came back here, I was like, dude, you guys need to leave. And not that this town isn't okay, whatever. Like, leave and then come back if you truly want to.
And that's
But
what I
get some,
tell
and that's
people.
what it needs is leave and then come back and bring what you found out there back here, whether it works or not. But just have a different perspective on life, because if you stay in the one place, and it's not just here where we are, but maybe it's where you are. Maybe you're in a place where nobody really leaves. A few people do, but leave, get that experience and understand that life isn't what you only see where you're at. Life is so much more, and it can be so much more, but allow it to be more.
And it's when you leave, you see what you're willing to have. Like, there are some people that leave their hometown and they never, ever go back.
Yeah.
I mean, they might go back for a holiday, but they had no intentions of staying away forever. But when they left, they were like, oh my gosh, beautiful out here.
Right. And then there's also that, like, maybe you moved away and didn't want to because where you're from and not necessarily here. I'm more of thinking of my dad. He
Mhm.
moved away to take care of his family and to provide for them.
Yeah.
He never wanted to move away from where he was from. He loved it. And believe me, I love to go back to Minnesota. But had they stayed, I truly don't believe my parents would have stayed together, because a lot of my aunts and uncles, because of the pressure of their families, a lot of the relationships were broken because of family. And that happens because family drama. So because my parents moved away, that kept them together, even though they both were like, we don't want to move. Like, they're very family oriented, and we, tried to keep, as tight as we could in certain ways. But
My dad had to leave.
just because we're saying you need to leave, that's not necessarily, but I think for small moments, you do need to expand.
Small towns, I would say you do need to.
Yes.
Bigger towns, you don't, because
The culture's totally different.
you can go 4 blocks over and you're in a different place.
Yeah, like,
But my dad was very opposite of yours. He would have stayed in that small town in Montana. He would be on the stool or he'd be dead.
yeah,
He constantly talks about it. He knew that if he stayed, I mean, most of his friends are gone.
mm-hmm.
And when he went back for funerals and stuff, and the fact that every one of them said, good for you.
Yeah.
God, wish I would have stayed out. Good, don't ever move back. And I mean, he sold his ranch. He sold part of his stuff. He's left, and it's not his home anymore, but the loss, like that land, 100%. I would go up there. I'd be there over this place, 100%.
Right.
But the family drama,
Yeah.
he'd be gone.
Yeah.
And so there are those sacrifices we make, and we wouldn't be here if my dad and your dad and my mom and your mom,
Yeah.
And my parents met in Reno,
Mhm.
where I had to be the Applebee's bee. That's where they met, that Balustrades. Yeah. It was awesome. Anyway, they met there, and life just changed. They came out here. My mom her major was in geology. Yeah, so that's like the rocks and everything.
Yeah.
It's like super into that stuff and just really smart. So of course this was an amazing place to be. The alternative life that I would have had is so crazy. My dad got offers to the highest paying electrical places in California. Like, we would be living on the beach, wealthy. But that's not who we were.
No.
It's not, my dad couldn't handle the politics even at that stage.
Yeah, and then who's to say that your parents would even have been together long enough for you to be alive?
I don't think my parents would have been together.
Yeah, like, you might not even ever been born.
Right. And so there are moments that destroy you because you have to go and because you don't want to go.
Mhm.
There are some that are quiet. Like, mine was so quiet and so painful.
Yeah.
I mean, I called my sister Kathy and I aren't the closest, but when I knew I was doing something that conflicted with that awakening in myself, I called her and was bawling. I was trying to validate standing my ground, and I needed her to help me
Yeah.
because her friends or family members of the people I was standing ground with.
Ah.
And I'll just say it was a guy. Okay. So her friend group and then her best friend's husband is their family. Great person. And so I just needed to confirm through her that me holding my ground was okay.
Right.
And I got exactly what I called for. He even told her, I'm family and I hold my ground against them. I'm family and I tell them no. They will use you.
Yeah.
And so, like, sometimes you need confirmation from people because even after you've been broken open and your old self is destroyed, you still, those patterns, those easy things come back that you're good at in that old life. And so you have to kind of walk away, you know? So was yours kind of like either of those?
Man, I don't even know what my moment was. Really don't. I think I'm gonna have to sit back and really reflect because it had to been pretty epic for me to. But I was asleep a lot longer than you were. I allowed people to,
I
you
feel like
know,
I've been a serpent in an egg for 26 years, you know, that just you're trying to get out. And then I finally did. And then it was like, oh shit. I think some people have to have it forced on them. Some people have to make that choice. And some people it's so, I think it was because the way we've talked, you and I had different goals that we wanted out of life
right.
when we were younger, you know,
Yep.
relationships held different meanings for us.
Correct.
And they usually do, male, female, they do.
Yep.
But I was always desperate for meaning. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for you in that essence, you know, but my family was raised a little bit different than yours. There was a little bit difference in the way the siblings dynamic was, but I was part of the younger one that didn't have a connection to my older sister, you know, and I am the youngest of all of them. So they were all significantly older than me.
Yeah, but you guys are a lot tighter, and I don't know if it's just because you're all females or what, but like I have no connection with my siblings, unfortunately, besides the one that's no longer
Well,
here.
and I really only do, I mean, I have a little bit here and there, but my siblings are more acquaintances besides, I mean, and I think that's a little bit tough. I would like to say I'm friends with Kathy. I idolize Mary.
Yeah.
There are things about Kathy I idolize too, but
Oh, I know. I've heard you talk about them,
yeah.
both of them,
And
and
even
and
Carrie
that's
Lake,
cool.
like,
Yeah, right.
but there are things that I think that I have, and it is the unsettling stuff. I know that there's something else out there. I know that what we see isn't 100% real. I know what we
Right.
feel isn't. And I've always had that. And I think it can be a disadvantage when you've had it from a younger age. Because when you don't have anywhere to put it, it almost eats you.
Yeah.
And, you know, speaking of people that harm themselves, like that is part of the reason I think people do. I mean, I've been on that spectrum of it. And so it's like, you say like, oh, you might have been asleep a lot longer. But I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think that you just appreciated more. Where I was just so confused by the battle I had in my own head that I was just begging to breathe. Where you are a lot more positive person than I am. So you're like seeing it where I would have to be in the stillness, like the stillness of like a bird landing on the snow for me to be like, okay, everything's going to be okay. Because I knew that there was something deeper, but I also needed the deeper.
Right.
I needed more knowledge. I needed more wisdom. I needed more experience. So I went out there and I did it.
Yeah.
And I hurt myself a lot at the expense of validating the fact that age doesn't care how, like, your age doesn't matter. And so I went out and got that wisdom I needed. I went out and got that pain and that joy and the ecstasy and all that stuff. And now you're sitting here and you're just like, there is always more. There's always more knowledge. But now I feel better in that fact that You don't have to go back, you know?
Right.
And if you had gone through the same cases I have been through, there's no question in my mind you and I wouldn't have met. You know? And so we have to think about that too, is that sometimes that moment hasn't destroyed us yet because the other people that we're meant to ride it out with aren't ready.
Right.
They aren't ready, but they need us, you know?
Right.
And so, like, you had to wait so much longer for me.
Yeah, you freaking butthead. Geez, speaking of waiting, what's our thing for today?
Our thing for today is name one failure that reshaped you. So today is acknowledging, regardless of what has destroyed who you used to be, you're going to name a failure that reshaped you. And you're going to acknowledge the break that made growth possible. So if you don't know what moment, like mine was just a veil, maybe you don't know, parents leaving. What was a specific failure that made possible you to wake up?
Probably something that when I had to move back to Nevada, like the things that transpired to make it to where where I felt like I had no other choice but to move back here and take that defeat that I never wanted to move back here. And I was extremely depressed when I moved back here. And it took me a long time to get out of that. Even when I was acting not,
Mm-hmm.
depresso espresso from being here. Like, I mean, you heard my mom say it, like, he was really depressed when we moved back. I didn't realize I was, but when I look back at my actions and stuff, and that's probably what it was, is that having to move back here, that failure, because I failed myself by not making it happen, by not succeeding the way I thought I would when I left. And I had to move back and I had to tuck my tail, and I felt just like absolutely defeated coming back here. And I see it so many times with people where they'll leave, like, say, a job for the greener pastures, and maybe they were, and they failed, and then they had to come back. And you see so many people being like, ugh, I had to come back.
I
But
did
then
that.
you see people leave for the greener pastures and realize that wasn't it. So then they come back. So there's that two different things. I came back and I felt defeated. Some people come back and they're like, man, this was it for them, though. And that's the thing. Everybody has to find their own greener pasture. Which one is the right choice for you? And you just got to live with it and make that choice. And don't be afraid to make it, because if you don't make the choice, then what? Like, then you're just stuck anyways. Make an uncomfortable decision.
You have to give yourself a chance.
You do.
And to give yourself a chance, you have to be willing to be stripped clean, because the undeniable fact is you came in this world by yourself and you're leaving it by yourself. Like, you can die with someone, but your soul is going.
Yeah. By itself.
And I mean, yeah, I do think that you're helped along the way, but
You can also ignore the help.
Yeah, you can. Right at the end, buzzer beaters, but
All right, Miss, I don't like basketball.
but no, there is that sense of you have to be willing to be stripped bare, where you don't have any identity of who you were anymore. You have to fail sometimes, because those failures, if you had succeeded, you'd be on a completely different path than where you were meant to be. And it sucks though, because some of those are significantly huge ways of living. You could have been here, like, successful, making this at the cost of this.
What
But you'll
would you
get
have
that
lost?
here without all the shiny stuff.
Right.
But so it just goes to show that what falls away creates space for rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
So every rebirth, it's called a rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
So you must die first.
Right.
Part of you must be destroyed. You must fail to realize, is this something I'm going to continue going after? I mean, I failed wanting things before and was so thankful that I failed.
Yeah.
Because when I was done, I was like, I don't know what I would have done if I had succeeded, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to keep that in mind too. But there are some that You had to fail to realize it wasn't your path. Well, that's it for us today. What falls away creates space for rebirth. So name that one failure today. Acknowledge that it made your growth possible and that it's okay that you failed. Yeah.
Just learn from it and grow.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys all tomorrow.
Thank you for walking this journey with me today. These stories are more than folklore. They are the heartbeat of our world building, the inspiration behind our characters, and the soul of the Legends Reborn Chronicles. By exploring these tales, we honor the past, ignite the present, and breathe life into the legends we're creating together. To see more of Mark and I, as well as additional scenes, discussions, and healing, check the links below that will lead you to our various social media platforms. Please also feel free to ask any questions or leave any comments in the episode below or in future episodes to come. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, may your path be guided by wonder, curiosity, and the magic of the stories that came before us. Blessings, and I'll see you on our next folklore journey.